Hey guys, welcome back to another math lesson with HK Math and Science. This video is about graphing linear graphs and how to sketch these. So by the end of this lesson, we should all know that only 2 points are required to sketch a straight line graph. Also know how to find the x and y intercepts for a linear graph, and finally be able to sketch a linear graph by finding intercepts and joining in a line. So let's just pause the video here and take a couple of minutes to write these down. Alright, so there's just a few key ideas that we need to know before moving on with the lesson. And the first one of these is that when linear rules are graphed, all the points lie in a straight line. So have a look at this graph on the right. It's a straight line. So it is possible to graph a straight line using only 2 points. These points are often the axes intercept. So that's the y-intercept there and the x-intercept there. The y-intercept is the y value at the point on the y-axis where x equals 0. So x equals 0 is right that whole vertical line there. So when x equals 0, we're going to have the y-intercept. So if you have an equation, substitute x equals 0 and you'll be able to find the y-intercept. And also when to find the x-intercept, this is the x value at the point on the x-axis where y equals 0. So y equals 0 is that horizontal part here. So if you're given an equation, substitute y equals 0 to find the x-intercept. So we have an example on the right here. Our sample question is 2x plus 3y equals 6. If you want to find the y-intercept, we substitute x equals 0. So that becomes 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 6. That gives you 3y equals 6, which equals y equals 2. Same thing for the x-intercepts. We substitute y equals 0. That gives you 2x plus 3 times 0. Once again, using that equation, equals 6. 2x equals 6. And then x equals 3. So now that we've gone through the key ideas, let's have a go at some example questions here. So this question says, sketch the graph of the following, showing the x and y intercepts. So we have the equation here. Let's start with the x-intercept. So we know when we're looking for the x-intercept, y has to equal 0. So let's substitute y equals 0. So 2x plus 3, substitute 0 into y. 3 bracket 0 equals 6. 2x plus 3 times 0 is 0. So it just becomes 2x equals 6. And then x equals 6 divided by 2, which gives you 3. Now let's do x equals 0 for the y-intercept. So that gives you 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 6. 3y equals 6, and y is 6 divided by 3, which equals 2. So we know x equals 3 and y equals 2. So for this equation, let's draw a rough axis here. So it looks something like that one here. And the things that we have to label every time we draw a graph. The origin, that's where x equals 0 and y equals 0, so it's the very middle point. The x-axis and the y-axis, they're a couple of things we need to label on every graph that we sketch. Also, we also need to label the x and y intercepts. So x equals 3 is right here. Let's say x equals 3 there. And y equals 2, so y equals 2. And we're going to draw a straight line, so get a ruler when you do this. I don't have one for my computer right now, so I'll do it freehand. But when you're doing it in your books, please make sure you're using a ruler. So draw a straight line that goes through both these points, and just draw arrows on the end to show that it continues beyond that line. So that's what your final answer should look like. So now let's have a go at the next one. This one says y equals 2x minus 6. So let's start the x-intercept again. So at the x-intercept, y equals 0. Let's write that at the start of every working out. I didn't do it here, but let's do it from now on. And we have the equation y equals 0. So let's substitute 0 into y. 0 equals 2x minus 6. We need to bring the 6 to the other side. That gives us 6 equals 2x. And x would then equal 3 because 6 divided by 2. So x equals 3. Now we have the y-intercept. I'll do the working out on the right here. X equals 0. So let's substitute 0 into x. So we have y equals 2 times 0 minus 6. Y equals 2 times 0 is 0. So y therefore equals negative 6. So we have our two values here. X equals 3 and y equals negative 6. So let's draw our axes for the graph again. Remember the things that we need to label. We need to label the origin. You label the y-axis, the x-axis, and the x and y intercept. So x equals 3 is roughly around here. And negative 6 will go down. I'd say it's roughly around there. And just the sketch. so it doesn't have to be too accurate, the points. And make sure you use a ruler when you're drawing the axes and this straight line, and also that you put arrows on the ends here. So this is roughly what your final answer should look like. Alright, so same deal. Now that we've gone through a couple of questions, just pause the video here and have a go at these two on your screen now by yourself. Alright, now that you're back, we'll have a go at working through these. So the first question, 3x plus 5y equals 0. So X intercept is when y equals 0. Doesn't really matter which order you do it in. And y intercept is when x equals 0. So let's substitute y equals 0 first to get the x intercept. So we have 3x plus 5 times 0 equals 15. So 3x plus 0, because 5 times 0 is 0, equals 15. X would be 5. And y intercept, 3 times 0 equals 5. Plus 5y equals 15. 5y equals 15, so y would equal 3. Now let's draw out our axes here. Remember, horizontal is the x-axis, vertical is the y-axis, and that middle point is the origin. So O for origin. So x equals 5, which is roughly around here. Label that. Y equals 3, that's roughly around here. Get a ruler, draw a straight line straight through these 2 points. Put arrows on either end to show that it is constantly going. And this is what your final answer should look like. And give yourself a tick for the x intercept, the y intercept, and your graph here. Now let's have a question. Let's have a go at the question on the right. Y equals 3x minus 6. The same deal, right? You're working out x intercept is y equals 0. Y intercept is x equals 0. Yep, so let's substitute y equals 0 first. 0 equals 3x minus 6. 6 equals 3x. X equals 2. And next one, y intercept, x equals 0. Y equals 3 times 0 minus 6. Yeah, let's move. So, yeah, y equals 3 times 0 minus 6. 3 times 0 is 0, so y equals negative 6. Let's draw out our graph again. That's the y-axis. That's the x-axis. Make sure you label those. Label the origin as well. A mark will be awarded for each of the labels as well as your graph, so please make sure you are doing that. X equals 2 is roughly around here. Negative 6 is roughly around there. And draw a straight line that goes straight through that. That's a little bit off. Make sure yours is a bit more accurate. And this is what your final answer should look like. So give yourself a tick once again for your graph, for the y-intercept and the x-intercept. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully by now you guys know that the only 2 points that are required to sketch a straight line graph is the x and y-intercept. So we do this by substituting y equals 0 to find the x-intercept and x equals 0 to find the y-intercept. And you should all be able to sketch a linear graph by now by finding intercepts and joining in a line. Also remembering to include the origin, the axis labels, and the arrows on either end of the line. Once again guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys all back online.